What's up, everyone? It's Kevin here, the Migraine Guy. I am bringing you an interview today with someone from Migraine.com. I'm going to put all of the relevant information, links to her articles, those kind of things in the video description below. I'll also plop some here-ish so you can get more information about Lisa. But it was a real fun interview. She asked me some questions for an article on migraine.com, and then I doubled up and got some interview questions in with her. She seems like a really interesting person, very genuine person, someone who likes to write as a way to express their inner thoughts, their inner mental life. And as a migraine sufferer, being able to communicate effectively can sometimes be rare. So finding people that do it well is a really nice not surprise, but it's just really nice to find. So hope you like the interview. Hit that hit the subscribe button if you want to be alerted when I do new videos and new interviews. Here it is. So let's see here, Lisa. Would you give us just a brief history of your migraines and where you are currently with them?
Yeah, so to start with where I am currently, I get them a few times a month, maybe 1 to 6 times a month. It really varies depending on what's going on or what kind of triggers I hit. But my history, I have had them pretty much my whole life. When I was a little kid, I had neck aches a lot, and we never really knew what was going on there. And then as I got a little bit older, I would get headaches, which then progressed to be more migrainous, I guess is the term. During high school, college, and then after, in my early 20s. But I just thought I had, your run-of-the-mill headaches. I didn't understand some of my symptoms, but they seemed almost too weird to mention, like, for example, food cravings. It's like, well, what do I even make of some, weird symptom like that? I had trouble remembering what the pain felt like when it was over, so I would go to the doctor and be like, oh yeah, I get headaches, if they'd ask. I wouldn't even think to mention it, because everyone gets headaches. And I would just continuously not get diagnosed. I finally had a doctor when I was in my late 20s who said, I want you to take note of your symptoms and come back in a month and I'll talk to you about your headaches. And so at that, I actually had to sit down and note what my symptoms were. And I go to the appointment and I explain, it's a one-sided throbbing headache, sensitivity to light, food cravings, sensitivity to sound. It's a classic migraine, but now I'm finally describing it in a way that a doctor can diagnose it, simply because she told me to take note and so we can talk about it. So she diagnosed me with migraine. That was in late 2011 and gave me a prescription for sumatriptan. I didn't quite understand the warning signs for my migraines at that time and wasn't sure exactly when to take it, or like how to distinguish, well, is this just a normal headache or a migraine? And so I had a little trouble trying to treat them. And a couple weeks later, I'd had a bad headache due to a cold. And it was late December. I was in grad school in New York, but I'd gone back to Massachusetts to visit my family with my husband and to visit my parents for Christmas. And I'd had a cold, I'd had a bad headache. Christmas Eve, it turns, much worse. And I do finally take a triptan, but I'm kind of shy to take like the second dose that you're supposed to take.
Right.
And, I'm very new to this. And then Christmas morning, I woke up with the worst migraine of my life. Probably still to this day, that was the worst I've ever had. And that migraine lasted about a week, with a lot of different symptoms that I'd never experienced before, such as vertigo, extreme brain fog, even like mood swings, confusion. I missed Christmas Day pretty much, and missed a lot of things that week. And then it kind of subsided for a little bit, and then for a couple days, and then all of a sudden the migraines kept coming back day after day after day. So that was January 2012 when I was finally back in New York. and I went to see my primary. Well, I had catastrophic insurance, so it only covered like one preventive visit a year. So we
Yeah.
found out when I was back at that appointment that, oh, actually, I'm not supposed to be here. I can't. She can't treat me. Um, so at
Wow.
that point, I'm like, all right, I gotta try to figure this one out. She
Yeah.
did call a neurologist in her department that day and like got me on a prescription for nortriptyline, which is similar to amitriptyline.
Hmm.
And they chose that one because it's cheap, so you can buy it without insurance. So I filled that and refilled the sumatriptan, which was way more expensive.
Yeah. Like $300.
Well, it was. I was lucky because the pharmacy I went to was private run at the time. The pharmacist was amazing, and she set her own prices, so it was $50 for the 9 pills, which
Oh,
I thought
wow.
was crazy until I tried to refill it in Massachusetts. That during that week-long migraine, and that was going to be like way more. And then my mom like let me use her AAA card, and we got the price down a little bit, but it was still like $130 or something.
Yeah.
So I think I filled half the prescription instead. It was
Right.
crazy, and I was a student, so it's not like I was rolling in the money. But
Sure.
anyway,
Yeah.
so long story short, I'm without a doctor and without a treatment plan. So, but the good thing was I was in New York City, which the ratio between people and headache specialists is pretty favorable compared to other parts of the country. So I did a lot of Googling, and I found out that, okay, the type of doctor I'm supposed to see is a headache specialist, usually a neurologist who's a headache specialist. And I found some websites that had resources to look them up. I literally called everyone in Manhattan, a few in Queens, and I actually lucked out. I found one that was 2 blocks away from the school I was going to, took
There you go.
out-of-pocket patients, and was cheaper than the rest, which might sound like a red flag, but it still wasn't that cheap,
Yeah. Right.
Instead of $800, it was like $250 for the first appointment. Yeah, I forget the exact prices, but
Yeah.
and since I basically was unable to attend school, I had 1 semester left. I was like, I got to figure this out. You're nodding. I know
Jeez.
you understand. So I made an appointment later that month to see him, and he brought me on, or we did the whole gamut of try this thing, try that thing, blah blah blah. About 6 months later, I was approved for Botox, so I started trying Botox. And some of the medications I did try with him didn't help. Some like some abortives were helpful, but like the preventives weren't really helpful. I'm trying to remember the specifics at this point, but
Yeah.
but anyway, at one point I told him, like, let's stop changing things because of grad school, because he had upped the dose in the nortriptyline that I was taking, and I lost a 3-day weekend just because of that dosage adjustment. And like I was supposed to be doing work that weekend, at school.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't do this anymore. We just need to keep things steady. So after I graduated, barely, I was able to try Botox and try some other medications, gabapentin being one of them, and those over time started to decrease my level of frequency and severity. And so that was in 2012. By, I'd say, 2013 to 2014, it's hard to know exactly when I converted back to being episodic, but somewhere in that time, it's definitely episodic again, more frequent, and then the frequency kept going down. And in I think around 2015 or so, I started going off medication. I'm now a little bit blurry on exact years and dates, but at this point now, in 2017, I'm not taking any preventives. I have preventive measures such as chiropractic appointments, and because my neck is a huge trigger, and also my Theraspex glasses that you see I'm wearing, and regular sleep schedules. I actually tried a bunch of different food diets. I tried paleo, I tried an elimination diet, things like that, and none of them affected me, which is great because I'm kind of a foodie. But I definitely would, if something was definite, I would have stopped it. The only thing I can say is alcohol. I might have like one small glass of something once in a while, but I definitely can't drink. It'll just trigger a migraine, but that's not a big deal. I'll probably be healthier for it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, keeping my caffeine intake steady, all of those things, lifestyle things really help. And then I find, I'd say a 50% chance of relief with an abortive. So like Maxalt is what I take now. And I also have Cambia. It's a anti-inflammatory. And that actually, like, even though no other over-the-counter anti-inflammatories have ever helped, I don't know if it's placebo or what, but, like, the Cambia really helps if the Maxalt hasn't killed it. Like, the Cambia will take it down another couple notches, which can make a huge difference. So, yeah, that's my general migraine story, from a top-down perspective.
Yeah, right. Cool. And then, so how did you get involved with Migraine.com, become a contributor there? And then second side question, do you have like basic themes that you typically write about, or do you kind of cover a spectrum for people who aren't familiar with you as an author?
Okay. I'll start with the first half. So back in 2012, when I was really, affected by them daily migraines, I actually went on Face Group, yeah.
Face Group. It's a new one.
Yeah,
watch out for it.
Let's make it. I went on Facebook and found a migraine support group. It was called Chronic Migraine Awareness. They're still around and they're now a nonprofit. I joined back when the group was very small, so it was kind of nice because you knew everyone in the group. And I also found a Facebook page called Migraine Action Coalition. It's still up there, floating in the internets, but nothing's being done for it. But long story short, I joined my friend Steve, who ran the page, and I helped run that page. And so I was doing a lot of awareness and advocacy kind of on my own or in the groups, and I started to get to know the people in the migraine community. And then one of the people was Carrie Smyers, or Smears, I actually forget how to pronounce her last name, but she writes for thedailyheadache.com, and she's also a contributor for migraine.com. And at one point, she asked if I'd be interested in applying to work for them. So I was like, yes. And I interviewed, sent a writing sample, and was accepted. So I started that in 2014. I think my general topics, there's a couple themes I hit on. My favorite is humor. And I'm kind of a dorky humor. I'm not like necessarily super clever, but I'll try to tell funny stories, things to like lighten the mood, and also things that are kind of in jokes for people with migraine. So, one is how I've been serenaded several times. The I Wear Sunglasses at Night song. 'Cause when I lived in New York City, it was really bright. I would wear sunglasses at night, and that happened. I actually do some video blogging for them too, not just writing. And I told a story recently of how, I was on this kind of scavenger hunt thing when I was an English teacher in Japan, and how I ended up getting a migraine during that, and didn't have a bed to sleep in that night, and all the crazy things that happened. So things like that where I'm trying to lighten the mood, and it's like probably only someone with migraines will really get it and really laugh at it, but
right.
And then another theme is kind of like self-help or self-empowerment. So it might even be a concept that wasn't necessarily meant for migraine, but I can apply it to migraine. I'm trying to come up with a quick example now, and of course I'm drawing a blank, but this video isn't out yet. Maybe it will be by the time the podcast is out, but I read a business strategy book recently called The Strategy of the Dolphin. And in that book, one of the concepts was talking about waiting too long to make a right decision, basically, and kind of what happens if you're not proactive. And it's like, well, that applies to migraine. You know, maybe you need to get that diagnosis, or maybe you need to try a new headache specialist, or maybe you need to try some lifestyle changes to see if they help, and sort of applying those concepts to migraine. So I guess those are the two angles I come at. And then the third is interviews. I really enjoy talking to either other advocates in the migraine community. I've had the pleasure of talking to people as part of organizations such as the Migraine Research Foundation, or different doctors on studies that they're doing. So, and I guess it's more of the journalism side of things, whereas the other stuff is more of the blogging. And I really enjoy both avenues, and also the freedom that you have at migraine.com to really kind of put out whatever you want, you know, content-wise. So that's really great.
Cool, yeah. So I'm sure everyone watching and or listening knows migraine.com. What a great domain to own, right?
Right.
The best one. Migraine.net isn't that big.
I haven't checked it out.
I don't even think it exists. I'm sure migraine.com owns it.
Well, actually, so migraine.com is owned by Health Union. So Health Union is a company that runs a bunch of different health websites. And their first site was migraine.com. And then they've expanded to over 10 other health sites. And we're actually all in contact with each other. The advocates all met in March at a conference. And they're a really wonderful company, because what they're trying to do is let the advocates speak and let it really be the voice of the people either with the condition or the caregiver of someone with the condition, so that it really does connect to the people, you know, who need it in a genuine way. So, but just to be clear, yeah, they're owned by another company called Health Union.
Okay. So. That sounds like it's a good company if they're empowering
they're
actual sufferers to get out there and talk about it.
Yeah, their founder had some health issues, and that's what inspired him to start it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
And so let's see, you said your migraines had come down to episodic. Do you said you had come off medication. Do you still do Botox?
No, I don't do Botox anymore. I tapered off of that as well. So first I started, you know, the doctor's like, all right, let's try, instead of 3 months, let's try 4 months. And then I did that a couple times. It took forever, but eventually I was like, I kept pushing it out. I'm like, oh, let me wait 1 more month. And she was totally cool with it. And then finally I was like, I just don't want to do it anymore, because I don't feel like I need, you know, I mean, if I needed it, like in a second I would go back to it. It's really just about the need for something. And, you know, when my belief is that when you need medication, you need medication. you know?
Absolutely. So. Awesome. And then just personal stuff. What did you go to grad school for?
I went to grad school for sculpture. So I studied figurative sculpture at the New York Academy of Art. And sculpture and writing are my two main interests. I haven't studied writing in a formal sense. I've taken a bunch of classes and, you know, studied it just informally, but I'm actually a full-time sculptor now, and I do commission sculptures, and I also help run my family's business, which is Sculpture Reproductions. So
wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't think I've ever met a sculptor before, at least one that does it full time. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Well, that clearly hit the 20 mark, so you have the gift of gab, like all of us migraine sufferers. Well, I mean, if you ask migraine history, right, of anybody, it's going to be a 15-minute talk, because there's going to be a variety of weird stories to tell. So thank you for telling us them, Lisa, and thank you for reaching out to me and wanting to chat. I like this a lot. Thought it was fun.
Yeah, same.
Hope you did as well. Thanks for watching the video today. If you want to help keep everything that the Migraine Guy does free and regular, head over to patreon.com/the migraine guy. There you can become a patron. A patron is someone who contributes a monthly financial amount to me, the migraine guy. It can be as low as $1 a month if you want it to be, and that helps me fund things like product review videos like the one you saw today. Additionally, it helps me upgrade things like camera quality, microphone quality, computer software, so I can continue to bring you not only good content, but good content that is also good quality. If that's the kind of thing